The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to Trento Vision, where bad ideas get pulverized and the truth will set you free. Trento Vision is hosted by Tom Trento. Tom can be reached at 561-319-5533 or Tom at trentovision.tv. Listen and watch every weekday from 3 to 6 p.m. on AM 1470 WNN and trentovision.tv. Now, let's get a peek at Tom's view of the world. Here's Tom Trento.
All right, we're back here ready to go on 4 minutes plus 2 minutes equals 6 minutes past 4 o'clock. So it is beautiful. I was going to say summer day, but it's actually, is it winter yet? No, not yet. Is it winter?
Yes, it is.
December 22nd, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's winter time. That's right. There's all
The
kinds
day
of...
after the world ended, it became winter.
That's right. I forgot about that. The day after the end of the world, it was winter.
Mm-hmm.
I was driving back from the gym early this morning, and I saw this big, huge white ball in the sky. Just looked beautiful at 6 o'clock in the morning, and
what a show off.
Well, you put the news on, and I mean some sad stuff. People dying in ice storms and all of that, and tornadoes and crazy icy weather.
Yep.
We're having none of that here on trentovision.tv in South Florida, but we do have an occasional hurricane that'll blow you from here to kingdom come, and we don't like those. But you're listening to Tom Trento, your host, trentovision.tv, with CJ right there, Mark, disembodied voice, invisible mic, and a mystery guest in the audience. And we do accept...
mystery visitor.
Mystery visitor. We do accept mystery visitors, particularly if you come bearing gifts.
Yes, especially if you bring treats or take us for treats after the show.
Or donation checks. You can help us continue with the analysis of the difficulties of the world and how you fit in as not a summer soldier or a sunshine patriot, as Thomas Paine said, but as a true hardcore warrior for truth, justice, and as Superman said, the American way. You can help out by either advertising your product or
your fabulous products.
Whatever it is, we know it's fabulous, or you wouldn't have done it.
And services.
Because you are a smart guy.
Or gal.
Or gal. Whoever you are smart because you are doing whatever you're doing. And you may be doing...
and thank God you're doing something.
You may be wanting to make dishes cleaner than they can absolutely be cleaned. And...
Really?
How long does it take?
I'm trying to jump around a frame.
I have to tell you. I have to tell you
this. Then we'll do it after that.
But I have to tell you, their website is so adorable.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Reallycleandishes.com. For those of you who are watching at home,
guess who?
Go check it out.
Guess who got really clean dishes?
You did.
No, the studio did.
Oh.
They sent the samples to this address. Yeah, that's doesn't work that way.
That's why it didn't make it to my house yet.
Didn't make it to the probably first floor. We're on the 5th floor. By the time everybody's grubby hands get to the
Well, that's okay. Now we can go through the building and we can ask everybody who tried it to give us their testimonial.
A little testimonial.
Yeah.
That can work. We will... it's being sent to my office, so I will bring them in. But here's the deal. We are right now, today, we're dealing with American history, in particular the Revolutionary War. We're showing that the principles that these brave men and women fought and died for are under attack today. And one of the axioms of civilized life is when a culture is strong and sound in its belief system and unified, it's extremely difficult for that culture to be attacked either ideologically or physically from an external enemy.
Right.
Dig it?
Or an internal enemy.
Or an internal enemy. When there's a unified understanding of who we are as Americans and what we do and how we do that, ask not for what you can do for your country, what your country can do for you. When you get that right, it's very difficult for an enemy to hurt us. Conversely, when there's internal disorder, as there is now, when you have a president of the United States of America who is a neo-Marxist, who is a socialist, a anti-colonialist colonizing the Middle East, when you have him dispensing gifts to a large portion of the population, and they're growing in strength, and the country becomes weakened as it does, when you add to that the financial crisis we are in, it's very easy for an external enemy to attack. The external enemy right now that attacking is Sharia-compliant Islamic jihad. That's the major threat to the United States of America right now. Greater than communism, greater than the Soviet Union, greater than China in many respects. It's an immediate, clear, and present danger. So our work looking at 236 years ago is applicable today, not only geopolitically in Israel, where the Hamas is gaining strength on the West Bank, and the third intifada is being called for by one of the sheikhs in the West Bank, Judea, Samaria, calling for a caliphate there and Sharia law, but also in the United States of America, where the Muslim Brotherhood has their operatives trying to fight against the American way, and to where they can implement the initiation of Sharia law. Thus, in 1 month, Florida, you listening? In one month, the legislature in the state of Florida will once again be bringing forth an American laws for American courts, a piece of legislation that will prohibit any foreign law, not just Sharia, but any foreign law. But Sharia is one of the greater concerns, obviously. What the heck is Sharia? Well, we're going to tell you what it is in a second. All right, we're queuing it up. We're queuing it up. Let me, I'll rewind. And now, what is Sharia? Well, Sharia, if you want to know, I helped write a book called Sharia, the Threat to America. And if you want to buy that, you can. Go to The United West. We got to push our website a little bit, theunitedwest.org. And we got another great website.
But we're revamping in January for that,
That's right. Yeah, we got another great website we're going to tell you about after we introduce a little segment we called My Sharia. Not the smoothest transition.
Not the smoothest segue.
My Sharia, never gonna stop or give it up. Killing infidels, always got it planned. Underhand, give a lot of yell. Whoa! My Sharia. My Sharia.
That cracks me up.
I know.
My Sharia.
That's President Mohammed Morsi of Egypt yelling, My Sharia, my Sharia. Mark, give us a little Sharia update.
Our latest Sharia update comes from the Al-Salik, the Reliance of the Traveler, certified and codified by the Fiqh Council of North America, the jurisprudential body of Islam, United States, also certified and codified by the International Institute of Islamic Thought, the publishing house.
It's got the good housekeeping seal.
Good housekeeping seal for all Muslims in America. And we're going to talk about scholarly consensus, which means
scholarly consensus,
which means that this is what it takes to form Islamic law, the laws that are in this book.
Okay, I get it.
Now it says scholarly consensus, also called IJMA, I-G-M-A, is the agreement of all the jurisprudential bodies of Muslims existing at a particular time after the Prophet's death, Muhammad's death, and that all the jurisprudential jurists of the Muslims in the period of the thing agree on an event or action. That each jurisprudential body presents his opinion about the matter in an explicit manner, verbally or writtenly, and that all the jurists agree that the ruling for the majority of them agree and consensus is not affected, no matter how few of those contradicted or how many. So it has to be 100% by all of them, unanimous.
Okay.
When those necessary integrals of consensus exist, the ruling agreed upon is an authoritative part of sacred law that is obligatory to obey and not lawful to disobey. Now here's the other point. Nor can the jurist of succeeding era make the thing an object of a new ijtihad, new ruling, because the ruling on it, verified by scholarly consensus, is an absolute legal ruling which does not admit of being contravened or
This is too
annulled.
complicated.
What it means
Well,
is
I get it.
Well, what it
I
means
get
is
it.
no matter
You cannot reform Islam.
you cannot reform the law. The law is absolute
There's
at
no
the time.
reformation.
There's no reformation. There is no new ijtihad is closed, meaning because we've heard that from, our
That's
friend
right.
Michael Downing when we.
Yeah.
Before he says, "Well, have you ever heard of ijtihad?" Yeah, it doesn't exist. It is closed.
Yeah.
It is an absolute fact that all the laws in this book are for now, are forever to the end of time. They cannot be changed.
They cannot be changed.
Changed or annulled in any way, contravened or anything. They are sacred. Boom. So when people say, "Well, no, those are old things. They don't apply now." No, they apply now and they apply forever.
Yeah.
So when they say killing of apostates,
Yeah.
and it's law in this book,
Yeah.
it
So
is
they're
law.
lying.
They're lying.
They're
They're lying
lying.
through their teeth.
Yeah.
Okay.
100% confirmed.
All right, and our point for today here on Trento Vision.
Can't be
and-
amended like the
No,
Constitution.
the reason I bring this part up is because this is in contradistinction to the way our laws are written, where they can be amended, changed, or at any time by consensus of men. Here they say, no, that's impossible.
And if you buy into the worldview that says Allah gave this, it makes sense from their perspective. That's why we have this clash of a
Right.
civilization against barbarians, basically.
Right.
Educated barbarians, the leaders of the Islamic
So there's
movement.
no wiggle room. Do not think, just obey the law.
And the connection for the viewers and listeners today on the 27th of December at 4:18 in the afternoon in beautiful Florida, the connection to our American History 101 class from 1776 to the Islamic Jihad and the Sharia that Mark just read is, as I said, all throughout the Middle East, parts of the West, and in America. The Islamic Jihad movement wants to subdue America, has infiltrated the institutions in America, in particular this administration, and we do a lot of work on this, as does our special guest right now. He spent over 30 years in the United States Army. He's a graduate of West Point. He fought in the Vietnam War. I think maybe he fought even in the Revolutionary War, if we check.
He'll be fighting in the next one.
And you know what? He'll be fighting in World War IV because our good friend General Paul Vallely is coming live from a bunker in Montana somewhere. General Vallely, how are you today?
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Okay. Hey, how was it back there with Washington and those guys?
Oh boy, what a dilemma. How are we ever going to get out of this?
Well, let's just say first hello and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, if we may. And then we could get on to
Same
the
to all my
scary
friends
stuff.
before.
Hey, General, yesterday we went very deeply into, it was the 236th anniversary of the Battle of Trenton, Washington crossing the Delaware. And we read from Thomas Paine's The American Crisis, where he starts out talking about summer soldiers and sunshine patriots. And it was just really astonishing, the words he wrote to mobilize the 2,000 regular and militia that Washington had to go against Hessians in Trenton. And we're still a little bit in awe of the commitment those guys made back then. What are your thoughts on all of that?
Yes.
Well, I'm just a big fan of David McCulloch's book, 1776, which
Yeah.
portrays all of that and lays out that entire scenario. And I've written several articles over the last 12 months asking, where is our George Washington today? So when we look at the Battle of Trenton, I still ask the question, we question may be, where is George Washington? We really need him right now. We need someone to step forth that can lead this country and turn it around severely, because we are committing national suicide right now.
Yeah, against that, you recently wrote an article yesterday on the 26th. Yes, America, I'm reading your first sentence. Yes, America, you are watching the suicide of a great country due to the actions and inactions of the federal government. Where were you when you got these thoughts to write, that first sentence? What was going through your head? And take us back to yesterday when you penned these words.
Well, almost a year ago, Tom, when I was back in Florida at Restoration Weekend, I was asked to give a talk on the greatest threats to America. And so at that time, we were looking at so many things going wrong, particularly internationally and on our borders and within the country. So I posed the question to the audience, so what is the greatest threat to the United States? And of course, everybody was saying Russia, China, jihad, all of that. And I said, no. I said, our studies indicate the biggest threat to America and to the Americans is an inept and corrupt federal government that is actually taking us down the path of a national suicide. And that was over a year ago, Tom, and it's even more apparent today. So I don't recall in the Constitution where we have any kind of powers that say we're going to commit suicide and we're going to change this whole country around, rather than sticking to the Constitution and the values that George Washington and the other great leaders had.
All right. Well, you have a website. Why don't you give out the address? The address, the website address, standupamericaus.org. Correct?
Yeah, so that's right. www.standupamericaus.org, and we've been around for 7 years. We were formed back at that time with a fellow compatriot and constitutionalist, Jerry Mullen, who produced Obama in 2016. Jerry and I formed Stand Up America back at that time. And we did it in order to analyze, to be able to go on television, radio, write articles, really expose some of the things that are going on, not only internationally, but domestically. So with our 12 analysts at Stand Up America, we're able to really gather in a lot of information and produce that on the website each day. Matter of fact, Glenn Beck, a lot of the Blaze, you take Fox News and others use our material because we're usually 1 to 2 days ahead of the cycle on information.
Yeah, your new website is just amazing. Whoever did it, kudos to those guys. It's alive. It looks great. It's easy to navigate, and got a tremendous amount of information. We're going to start pushing. We push websites on this show for folks to get involved with. You have been all over the world in your 34 years, I believe. And then since your retirement, you've been all over the world. You've been a Fox analyst, all of this. You've been to Israel. You recently were in Syria. Crazy guy that you are. Richard Engel was just kidnapped.
Close to Syria.
Yeah, right. And close to the
somewhere
the
in the Middle
firestorm.
East.
I'll just say along the border, and I actually got stopped by a Turkish patrol. I'm 73 years old, and I had 2 young Turkish soldiers come up and stop our group as we were crossing the border to meet, with the Free Syrian Army, and I'm scratching my head and I'm saying, what am I doing?
And not only what are you doing out there in the middle of nowhere, but you own a munitions, an arm, a gun business factory. You make some of the most wonderful war weapons used for war, Nemo arms, and you had nothing on you. You had no arms on you. So, yeah, crazy.
Well, it's interesting, Tom. I had my passport in my upper left pocket, and I had one Turkish guy with me who was our translator, and 2 Syrians. So as we're going through let's just say sort of like a nursery or a olive a garden type place where there are actually a lot of trees. And so the Turkish patrol stopped us, and he looks at me, and the Syrian guy tried to tell him in Turkish that I was a potato farmer. And now the Turkish soldiers at that level, maybe they're not the brightest, but he says, no, American officer. They thought I was from the CIA. So they grabbed the Syrian, they start shaking him. I figured they were going to try to shoot him. And so I just remained calm, stood there and with a smile and didn't say a word. And Turkish soldier comes over, picks the ID card, passport out of my pocket. He's looking at it. I know he can't read it, but he certainly knew I wasn't a potato farmer.
Yeah, right, exactly. And if he would have asked you, do they grow on trees or on bushes, you would have been...
we have a video of that, Tom. I'll have to send it to you.
You absolutely. That would be...
We went back to a safe house and met with a lot of the commanders. And then 6 weeks ago, I met with 70 commanders from the Free Syrian Army. 50 in Hatay province, Antakya, which is right on the Syrian border. And then I had 25 crossover come up to Istanbul and met with us. It was really interesting to see these individuals that aren't Islamists, by the way, but they are truly secular. They want to see a good economy in Syria. They hate Muslim Brotherhood, Hezbollah, Al-Qaeda. And so they're fighting not only the Assad government, but these other elements that are trying to come in and take over Syria, much like they've done in Egypt.
Right.
Yeah, we're going to have to absolutely do a show on Syria because that is a mess. I don't see any good solution there. Israel's going to be in the crosshairs somehow. We got Iran involved. So we will hold that for another show. I know you did a big briefing on it.
No, a lot of people want to know, why does it matter here what happens in Syria?
Yeah. No,
I mean, even Israel, some people could understand. Egypt, people can understand. But then they look at Syria and say, I don't get it.
The world is so interconnected. People don't understand that.
They
But that's
don't
why we're here on
understand.
TrentoVision.tv and WNN 1470 at 27 minutes after the hour. But, General, right now...
Let's go through this letter.
Yeah, the letter you have in one of your concluding paragraph says a civil uprising is not out of the question as pain, in quotes, grips the country more each day. But we know there's a problem. Let's discuss if you could wave your magic Montana wand and get 50 of the top activist or geopolitical minds in your bunker, and you wanted to set a plan to correct the abuses and the problems in America. Lay out the plan. Give us the plan. Take a minute and tell us what needs to be done.
Yeah, go through this first.
First of all, we need to replace the people we have in Washington, and there has to be a way, even as it says back in the Bill of Rights, any people anywhere being so inclined and having the power have the right to rise up and shake off the existing government and form a new one. This is a valuable and sacred right, a right which we hope and believe is to liberate not only the world but the United States. So with that in mind, we have the power of people to replace this government, especially when they're corrupt and they lie to the American people. But it's going to take America all over organizations, and it's not going to be the Republican Party or the Democratic Party or the Independents.
Right.
It's going to take the veterans of America. It's going to take the patriots to band together and say, we're just not going to take this anymore. And we want you to stand down. I think arrest warrants should be issued to those that are conducting treason against America, as well as lying and basically laying out scenarios that are false. And if you look at Fast and Furious, if you look at Benghazi, we have these situations where the Congress is almost neutered as far as being able to follow through and get anything done. And then you have an executive branch that's totally corrupt, and then a court system that doesn't work anymore, even at the Supreme Court level. So we seem to be broken across the board. We have to fix that. And if it takes an uprising, and I get emails as you do all the time, there are a lot of things fomenting down in there. I think this gun control thing that they're going to try to press on the American people and take away the Second Amendment rights could be the spark that creates some kind of a civil uprising, because the people out there are just going to take it so long, and especially if we go in the tank financially, or we have Iran throw a electromagnetic pulse bomb on Manhattan and freeze our grid system. I met with Jim Woolsey last week, had dinner with him, former head of the CIA, and we talked about 1 second after. If you haven't read that book, you should.
Yes, we have.
It's definitely what the enemy is planning for the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, go ahead. CJ, you had a question.
Yeah. Reading from your letter here, I'm quoting, "We cannot permit the current leaders in the White House, the halls of Congress, and many judicial courts to continue in their efforts to lead us down this road of progressive socialism and chaos. In our opinion, President Obama, his appointees, and czars must be replaced now." Can you give us like your top examples from the White House, from the Congress, from the courts of really what does this mean and what is the path that we're on? I think people don't really fully see it.
No, they really don't. No, I think there's sort of an awakening out there. I think if you look back at all revolutions, you look at the tyrannical governments that have controlled populations, at some point in time, it really does become economic. And people will rise up when they have to stand in bread lines and they can't earn enough money to provide for their families. So I think the economic downfall of the country, which is the second largest threat to the United States after our inept leaders and political appointees, that when you chart that course and you almost look for failure. The question always comes up, well, the Obama administration, is this by design? I think it is by design. And they're very intent on accomplishing their agenda. So we as the people have to have our agenda to take back the government. I look at my 5-year-old grandson and I say, what is he going to be faced with here in America when he grows up? And it's a whole different America here in 2012 going into 2013. So are we going to let ourselves commit national suicide, or are we going to stand up and do something? Are we going to have a 5 million woman march on Washington in April has been floated?
Oh, interesting.
Where they actually surround the Congress and the White House and shut them down until they can replace the government. These are the things that are happening in America, and it's not me that's creating this. This is what I'm getting in about how many Americans throughout the country are fed up. They see urban uprisings. They see this class culture, this class warfare getting worse rather than better. And here we have people sitting in Washington, D.C. are creating this class warfare all the time. So that's what we have to face. So the challenge is, how do we put together serious organizations? And I get tired of hearing, Tom, well, we need to sit down and discuss this. We need to sit down and collaborate. We need to talk more. Well, all that touchy-feely stuff is great, but you really need what I call Saturday morning action heroes. You need those action heroes to stand up and be accounted for, and to account for their families and their communities. I'm very upset with the generals and the admirals in the Defense Department.
Yes.
I see these kids getting killed and wounded. I talk to parents whose son is captured by the Assad government, is sitting in a prison. He's been there for 5 months. I talked to the parents today. How would you like to be that parent knowing your son is locked up by the Syrian Assad regime? I talked to Billy Flynn and his wife. They lost their son in that helicopter crash over a year ago in Afghanistan. So you go back to, what is the return for America in all of these things that are overseas, putting bases into the Middle East when we can attack them from the outside, come back home. So the whole strategy, national strategy's got to be examined. We look at going over the cliff for our Defense Department, what's going to happen there. But on the other hand, the way we form national military strategy, we look at threats, okay? We look at the force that it's going to take, the structure, types of forces to meet those threats, and then we figure out how to pay for it. They're doing the absolute opposite now. So we're all backwards. I know I'm rambling on about some of these things, but they all tie back together to the nation that has lost its way.
All right, Mark has a question for you. Mark?
You were talking about things to do, General.
Turn on.
And the things that can be done, you were talking about, arrest warrants need to be issued.
Yeah,
Well,
what does that mean?
What does that mean? I mean, who actually issues the arrest warrant? What's the charge? Is it misprision of treason or some other charge? And is it handed out by Sheriff Joe Arpaio or something like that? How does it, or by an FBI agent? How does that actually come to the thing?
It's really back to the basic law enforcement in our country, which are the local sheriffs throughout the country. And they are, in fact, people that can create the situation where, like in Wyoming, 6 sheriffs said if we have any federal agents come in here and try to break the Constitution, that we will, in fact, put them in cuffs and we will put them in jail. We still have what we call citizen's arrest. So at some point in time, they say, well, you can't touch federal officials. Well, if they're violating the Constitution and the law of the citizens, then they should be arrested. So again, it's up to the people to do that. I can tell you there's a lot of veterans organizations now that are getting support. We know, in fact, there's a certain amount of the military that will join the people and support them. And they're not going to tolerate a tyrannical government in America. So, yes, things can be done, but it takes organization, it takes strong leadership, it takes warriors. You just can't sit back and dialogue and hope it's going to get better. You got to take action. So I could form an action plan today. I can't tell you all the things I do, but certainly with the liaison and the coordination that I've done with some organizations, people are scared. They want warriors to take this country back.
Well, CJ, you have a question?
Yeah, I do. How do we take it back from these intelligence and military leaders who aren't even allowed and refuse to see what the threats to the United States are? And either they voluntarily shut themselves up or they get fired by the White House and the Congress allows it to happen. How do we get rid of this leadership, really, practically? How do we do that?
I think that's where the turmoil will come in, the chaos. We see that happening in some of the ranks already, that they really are getting fed up with going to Afghanistan, and our suicide rate's the highest that's ever been in the military,
right,
with families as well as members of the military. At some point in time, like I said, when you go back to any kind of civil uprising, there's something that always foments it and makes it happen. Look how quickly it happened in Egypt and the Middle East and some of these countries, and you see what's going on in Syria right now. A lot of Americans say, well, that can't happen in America. Well, I tell you, it can happen in America. So when the frustration level gets so high and you have critical things happening in the economy, and I'm not a doomsdayer, believe me, but what I'm talking about, when the pain reaches the people, something will happen.
Right.
Something will happen in the military.
Right.
And if they don't get on board and stand up for the Constitution, and I've had several senior military leaders chastise me that I shouldn't question the President of the United States,
right,
as I do. Well, I say, well, listen, first of all, I'm retired. I'm a citizen. I have
right,
my First Amendment rights. And when I look at guys like Wesley Clark and Colin Powell and others that are retired officers, they certainly, stand up for what they believe in, right or wrong.
Yeah.
So we have a case in the Pentagon where we have a lot of military that are looking for their next position or the next what they're going to do when they retire.
Right.
They have to stand up as a group.
Yeah.
If they stand up individually, they're going to be asked to retire, step
but
down.
we have
But you
we
gotta
have
stand up
also
at some point in time said, this is not the strategy. We're not winning anywhere. Look at everything we put in Iraq. 0 return for the American people in Iraq. 0 return. And the same thing in Afghanistan, 11 years. What's the return to the American people? But it takes a new strategy. It takes new leadership. And I've written the lily pad strategy, what I call Joint Strike Force Operations.
Right.
I'll be happy to give you a copy of it. This is what we do again at Stand Up America. And we will publish this at some point in time. David Horowitz has asked me to publish a book, a pamphlet about 8,000 words called Obama in the Military. And we have finished that draft. We'll probably publish that from the Freedom Center in Los Angeles in
cool.
January.
Good,
okay.
good.
You feel like you're out there all alone on a platform. I get very few generals, other than General Boykin and myself, that really stand up
Yep.
to be counted
That's
about
the problem.
radical Islam and
Yeah.
jihad and caliphate. But I can't get a lot of military officers to stand up with us. It's a real challenge.
But then we also have the current population in the United States. Half of them are getting a check from the government every month. Why? What is their incentive to rebel against the government that's sending them a check or some benefit every month? And the
check
rest.
Bounces, when it's no good anymore. When you have that economic collapse, you can't go to the bank. You can't access any kind of a bank account. The wire systems go down. You have panic, as some have written, within 12 days in the United States.
Right.
Then you'll see an uprising.
Okay, so
It'll happen in the urban areas first.
So we can't do anything until this economic collapse happens? What can we do to stop the economic collapse, or should we just let it happen?
Replace everybody in Washington.
Do what?
That's what we're going to do, but how do you do that?
Yeah, how do you do that?
An uprising that can occur as it has occurred in other countries. And so we can't be naive to the fact that we can't do anything. We can. And when it gets bad enough, we will fight.
General, when you took your oath of allegiance, you didn't swear that to the President of the United States.
No.
The enlisted do, but the officers do not. Yeah, you swore to the Constitution, exactly. Yet, do you have a sense or feeling of you kind of brushed over earlier about how the other generals feel as far as their oath has been compromised? Because it seems like they're just following the president and not following their oath to the Constitution. What's your sense?
Absolutely, Mark. You hit it right on the nose. That's what they're doing. And they're chastising people like General Boykin and myself for standing up for the Constitution. And that's what they should say. We're standing up for the American people and the Constitution first. You're a political figure. And we don't have any adoration that we need to really possess for a political figure. They will come and go. They will use the American people. Some presidents to very good things, others to very evil things, and so they should be replaced when they're not serving the American people. But we have such a divisive country right now that and many Americans are just absolutely still leading their own lives. They're in their little cocoons and bubbles, even out here in Montana.
Right.
So until the pain strikes you, you'll probably not do anything. But believe me, when the pain strikes, something will happen, and that's where we're heading towards.
Yeah, this is Tom again here. So many.
Gosh,
many things to discuss. But a couple of points before we have to let you go here. You're obviously working on a specific action plan, as are we. We need to sit down and compare and contrast notes here, because this president now, we exist. We started this radio program as an extension of the United West, which is a counter-jihad educational organization fighting the Brotherhood, defending the Constitution, defending the right of Israel to exist. We started the radio show September 3rd, and we only were going to do it for a couple of months to awaken the voters to defeat Obama, and we failed at that, though we did pretty good in our little area here. But this gentleman who's the president now has 4 years of impunity, basically.
Yep.
You could see the hubris. He flies his airplane to Hawaii for a few days.
Back and forth.
Yeah, $200,000 an hour. He lives the life of
Over
King.
$1 billion last year.
Over $1 billion.
Yep.
He's living the life of King George. I mean, we're here at Trento Vision, General. We're in the 1776 right now mindset.
Yeah, we are.
He's living the life of King George.
He's an emperor.
Yeah, and he's got his Caesars all around him. So we decided to keep the show on the air. We're raising donation money to do that, and we're positioning ourselves to serve as a command and control communications center for the counter-jihad movement initially, and even maybe a larger sense, the conservative movement, the patriot movement, on the grassroots side. No one is coordinating the grassroots activity over major media in a coordinated, focused manner to be a force multiplier. We have this big megaphone now. and we're broadcasting on the internet. So we need to sit down and figure out how we can make all this work in a greater sense here in the United States of America. But talk to us for a minute or two about the geopolitical strategic position of Israel and what the world is going to look like for Israel in the next 6 months.
Well, I think 2013, those things are going to happen in the Middle East. Israel now, Tom, has to fight on 4 fronts. And they can't just say, well, we're going to hit the nuclear sites. They've actually planned to hit 75 sites over there in Iran, which are regime target sites, command and control, ports, barracks of the IRGC. So there's a lot of plans there. But now they can't launch against Iran without launching against southern Lebanon. With southern Lebanon with 50, 60,000, who knows how many rockets placed in there along the border 20 kilometers deep, command and control, IRGC, Iran Revolutionary Guard troops in there with the Hezbollah. So they have to take part of their force for Iran, part of the force for simultaneous offensive operations against Hezbollah. But then you've got all the weapons that have been brought into Gaza, through Egypt and even into West Bank. So the Israelis have a tough situation, but they have it planned out. They have to fight on those 4 fronts now. A lot of people don't realize that. Everybody keeps talking about, well, they're going to hit the nuclear weapon site and that's it. No, it's much more than that. The surrounding area is what makes it interesting on that Middle East chessboard. That's why Syria is so important right now. If Syria turns the right way into a secular government under the Free Syrian Army leadership, then that puts a dagger into the heart of Iran and Russia. And you can see Russia's getting a little queasy right now. They know Assad's going to move back into the Alawite region, maybe use sarin gas and some other things. He'll be destroyed shortly, I think, probably, weeks, who knows. So when you look down at the Free Syrian Army and those that Holden discussed, Hezbollah, they want to destroy Hezbollah in Lebanon, so Lebanon can become a free state. So all that surrounding area could well change, even without an attack on Iran. So that situation will occur in 2013. I'm not sure what time or date or anything, but we're getting so near over there because of what's happening in Syria. And then the other states over there being very concerned about what's going to happen to them. For example, Egypt. We know the Muslim Brotherhood is very well organized. And as you know, Tom, the Muslim Brotherhood are just jihadis, Islamists that wear suits. And I met with one of them. They're very arrogant, they're smart, they're educated, and they're really in for the Grand Caliphate. And that's what they're attempting to do. So without our role, in any role over there right now that's definitive in nature. The Syrians even asked me, why can't you help us? We have an Assad in there who is as crazy as Hitler, and yet we're not participating in any way. So it's all the strategy of our leadership, which is not very good. So that's the other thing. If you ask me what I'd do, I'd rewrite the strategy for our military forces, for our borders, and for the internal security of America, and then to launch against any enemies that are off our shore. So yes, there are things that if I was in there today, I could change a lot of things, and I would do it. But I would surround myself with good, qualified people that know how to function in this world today. So how do you do it? Well, that's the big question. But Tom's right. If you look at the progressives, they're fairly well organized, as we saw in the last election. You look at the conservatives. I don't even talk Republican, Democrat anymore.
Yeah.
If you look at the conservative, the constitutionalist, there's all these groups, but there's no structure to bring them all together yet. And that's one of the things I'm working on.
That's what we're looking for.
Good.
Yeah.
Bring it together with some sense of leadership.
Yeah.
Is it a kitchen cabinet of the 8-10 brightest constitutionalists in America that will guide us in the future and replace the inept, corrupt people in Washington, D.C.? Will the election process be enough? I don't think so. I think we'll have some kind of an uprising before the next election will change a lot of things. So anyhow, that's the challenge we have. Are we going to sit back? Or are we going to stand up and do something about it?
Don't start the revolution without us.
Yeah, we're gonna stand up, America. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna have to let you go. This has been very good, very informative. Any thoughts or anything else you want to share with the audience, listeners, viewers? Any books you're selling? Anything you need, or whatever you want?
Well, no, I'd like to go down there and visit you sometime. Maybe give a talk, and if we can put something like that together next year, I'd be happy to do that.
That would be wonderful.
Give a talk. You just talked about taking over America. You want to give a talk? You come down here.
We're going to come down here and we're going to sit you down for a few hours on the radio, my friend.
Let's go to Washington and let's cause a little trouble in Washington, D.C. How about that?
I'm ready. I'm ready to do something. My good friend General McInerney's back there, my old compatriot of Fox News, and but there's again, there's a lot of frustration, but nobody seems to garner. Everybody sits in D.C. in the Beltway, and they think, well, we'll just discuss everything, and we'll put it out there like a lot of political analysts do. But then they don't do anything. There's no operator. We need operators.
What we need is like
we are men of action here.
One of those. I see it. I see it coming.
I went into Syria, that area.
I see it coming together. It's like.
It's amazing. I got in there in 5 days, met with more commanders, and did anything that our government couldn't do. They couldn't do what I did.
No, of course not.
Individual go over there and meet with them for humanitarian reasons. In 5 days, I had 70 commanders come across to meet me.
Huh.
Anybody in the CIA can do that? Anybody in our government?
Hell no.
Well, they don't have the will.
Reach out at that top level of government.
No, we were going to ask you about Ben. We were going to ask you about Benghazi, but we don't have the time. That's our government's thing. But what we need is, we've all seen those movies where, one last deployment. We need you, Ollie North, Boykin, McInerney, all those guys getting together. And we march down the street and we make something happen. That's what we need to do.
Absolutely.
All right?
All
right.
Sounds good to me.
Washington on a big black or white stallion.
You know what? You get my mind thinking here. I got to call a few donors and see if we can put a budget together.
We're taking America back. You guys are out of here.
All right.
And we'll get John Voight and
Claire Lopez. We'll bring Claire in too. All right, General Valley, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank your wife for us.
See you in the new year.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Everybody.
All right.
Montana.
All right. Bye-bye.
Oh, he is so fabulous.
Yeah. Good guy. Great guy, actually. And, strong history, patriot, and people don't realize, many people don't realize that a few years back, his son, Scott, was in the Army.
Yeah.
And was training to go into become a special operator and got killed actually in a training mission.
Yeah.
And so he lost.
I met them
son.
right after that.
That's right. We met him in Philadelphia. And the general's been through some medical stuff too. He's not 25-year-old spring chicken anymore, but he's fighting the battles, going to Syria, and he went to Syria.
He looks good though.
He looks great. He went to Syria. I was talking to him just before he went, and he got back. I think
he got back. He was sick when he got back.
Yeah, pneumonia. Yeah, So.
Yeah. Sorry, I can't do the show today. I'm dying.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But no, we will have to hook up with him and.
And he doesn't. Yeah, I mean, he's not talking about he's talking about lawful revolution.
Yeah, no, he's a lawful guy.
I just want to make that clear to anybody who's listening.
And he's not talking about
civil unrest. I
mean,
that's great.
Well, he's talking about
civil unrest happening,
yes.
and a lawful resolution resulting.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because everything he's talking about is lawful.
Yes.
And
just like us. Everything is lawful all the time.
And I think what they're worried, I was looking up a movie way back when. It's called 7 Days in May with Burt Lancaster.
Right.
You remember that with Burt Lancaster? Where
with Kirk Douglas.
Yeah, Joint Chiefs of Staff. And
he
physically tried to take over the government, almost a coup d'etat.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not what we're talking about.
No.
That's so don't get all
we're not talking about 7 days in May here.
We would never want to overthrow the United States government. Why would we want to do that?
Just because we're enemies of the state
love the
doesn't
government.
mean that
We're fighting for the government, and we're going to
we're
fight.
fighting for the
We're
government.
going to
That's
fight
exactly
in a few
it.
minutes.
Yeah.
We're going to fight in a few minutes with Mark Langfand, who will be Skyped in with us. Tell us about a bomb that Iran has that is not
yes.
good. We'll see you in
It's
just
a bad thing.
a few minutos.
Thanks for tuning in to Trento Vision, where bad ideas get pulverized and the truth will set you free. Tom Trento can be reached at 561